Hi folks, this is all the fruit, and often people ask me, where did you learn all this stuff about plants? When did you start foraging? Where and when did this passion for eating anything unusual began? So I decided to come back to some of my earliest foraging grounds from the late 70s and early 80s, and to see what I can snatch now, over 40 years later. I was born in South Park. That might explain a lot. And if you say, wait, nobody is born in South Park. South Park is a fictional place. Nope, it's not. And during communist times, it was by far the fanciest place in the whole country to be born. However, well, when you were born there, you didn't say, I was born in South Park. You said, I was born in the government hospital, which is this heavily guarded complex here, which is inside South Park. You might think, okay, in communism, all hospitals were government hospital, but this was not the hospital by the government. This was the hospital for the government. And only like the 0.1% of Bulgarian society were allowed to be born or even treated here. Were we communist elite? Well, all the communist elite of Bulgaria is born in South Park, and that explains a lot. Well, we were not communist elite, but my grandfather coincidentally worked as an X-ray technician in this hospital, so he arranged for me to be born here. And yeah, that explains a lot. Nowadays, the object is not called the government hospital anymore, it's called the university hospital. And I guess I will be able to get in there. Back in the old times, even if, well, maybe if you were dying they would let you in, but I doubt it. It was, in communism we were all equal, but some were more equal than the rest. Oh, mulberry tree, but no fruits hanging on this one. And the horse chestnut is neither in season nor edible. Wonderful toys for kids back then. Also, on a totally unrelated fact, the British used them for war in World War I and II. No, they didn't throw them at the Germans. They made explosives from them, from the fruits, from the seeds. In more modern times, not the British but the Americans have built a huge fancy embassy. Oh my God, if the old communists knew that the Americans would build an embassy right next to their posh hospital, they would have probably made a revolution in their graves. This neighborhood here hasn't changed a lot. Even then there were like big fancy houses with big orchards. Here we have coincidentally some American fox grapes. You don't need to spray them, they grow very well. A pear tree, a cherry plum and a cherry, an apple and a hazelnut. We didn't break into those gardens back then. Those were very law-abiding times, unlike the later 90s. But whatever was sticking out over the fence was fair game for little kids. A sour cherry tree growing here along this public trail. Well, sour cherries, as the name suggests, are sour, but they're cherries, so sour. No fig trees grew here in the 70s and 80s. The climate was so harsh, they wouldn't have survived. Even apricots, I've never seen an apricot in the whole city of Sofia back then. They grew in the villages around Sofia, which were a little bit higher on the hills and thus had a milder climate. Yes, this is a thing. Higher hills often have a milder climate. But inside Sofia, I've never seen an apricot, and much less a fig tree back then. But of course, there were a lot of pears and cherry plums and apples. We didn't even bother about eating the hawthorn because, yeah, there was a lot of better stuff to forage here. Ah, yeah, my old path to school / kindergarten. Most of the houses are either the same or quite similar. I remember looking for 4-leaf clover here. Oh, there is even some clover left here. I was looking for it with the girl for hours and she even found a couple. I didn't. Although I would describe myself as quite an able forager, somehow I never managed to locate even a single 4-leaf clover in my life. Oh, look at this magnolia. Quite an interesting stem. We didn't have such shiny private houses back then. Only government buildings were allowed to shine like this. Beautiful grapevine pergola. It's still very early in the season. The grapevines have just finished blooming. And the roses are not smelling, so it's not a Bulgarian rose. Back then I didn't know you could eat mallow. But I was totally aware that you can actually eat the young tendrils of the grapevine. My old kindergarten, of course I was forced to do most of my foraging on those premises. The buildings are still standing, but the playgrounds have been completely remodeled. I remember near this fence, somebody found some Satan's boletus. I guess the name says it all. And because I had kind of a reputation even as a kindergartner, the nannies called me and asked me what this is, if this is an edible mushroom, and I told them, no, sorry folks, this is the poisonous doppelganger of an edible mushroom. Okay, guess since the host trees have been killed, there is no Satan's boletus here anymore. We used to have a big swimming pool here. We were never allowed to use it and there was never water in it, but it was kind of a creepy thing to have an unused swimming pool here, but now they all have modern playgrounds. Syrian hibiscus, Hibiscus syriacus, which of course is the national flower of, you guessed it, South Korea. Although it's not native to South Korea, it's native to Syria. We had this in our kindergarten where they probably have removed it in the last 40 years, and we would eat the fruits. The adults would tell us that they are poisonous and that we would die. Well, I think only the unimportant adults like the nannies told us this. But we are eating them anyways. Nowadays I know that those fruits are good food. And also the flowers, which will appear in a couple weeks. Still, folks, listen to your nannies. My parents and grandparents taught me a lot of stuff about really poisonous things, and that's how I survived my early foraging years, listening to them. I don't know why we disobeyed for this Syrian hibiscus. It might have been that somebody told us. No, actually none of the adults told us it's edible, but we ate it anyways. Maybe we were just too bored inside the kindergarten. Nice old mulberry tree. How old would it be? Well, I guess this is less than 100 years for sure, but maybe 70, 80 years. Those blocks here were built when, I guess in the 60s, they look like 60s, 70s. Well, the tree could have been planted together with the blocks, but it could also have been a remnant from the old little houses around here. How old do you think this mulberry tree is? I'm sure I've eaten fruits from it, but I cannot remember now. It looks quite substantial. I would say maybe 70 to 80 years at least. More pears and purple cherry plums. Also here We used to do a lot of mushroom foraging around here, but we never found any portobello mushrooms. But I remember that once the kids from this very block found buckets and buckets full of portobello mushrooms around their block. But of course they didn't share. Somewhere here used to be the old cultural center where I was forced to learn English, the language of the enemy. I always complained about this. All the other kids just have to learn Russian. Why do I, of course, I and 50 other kids, why do we have to learn 2 languages while still in kindergarten and stay at work for 2 hours of overtime? That's how we saw it back then. But I guess the cultural center has been replaced by those post-communist buildings here. It is funny that back then we had no idea that lamb's quarters was edible, or that wild cabbage lettuce was edible. We were eating a bit of wood sorrel back then. We also had no idea that chickweed is edible, or a lot of other common things. We were such avid foragers, but still in Bulgaria there was no knowledge about too many edible plants for some reason. Oh yeah, no figs in my time in Sofia. You would see them on the Black Sea coast or in some lowland cities, but not in Sofia. Sofia is at over 500 meters above sea level. Back then in that harsh climate, no figs here, folks. My old school. I think it's still a school. Funny that even 40 years later, the school and the kindergarten are still the school and the kindergarten. I remember here once, not plant related, but in first class, they warned us that there is a university student who likes little boys too much. And he's on the loose around here. And he has a big, pipe or some sort of thing which he tells the children that it is a telescope and they can see the stars, but for that they have to go into a dark place like in a basement, and then he kills them. And you would think us little first graders would have been scared. Oh no, all the first grader boys, he wasn't interested in girls, we went on a manhunt. We decided, well, we came together to a war council and decided, okay, we are small little first graders, we need at least 5 guys to kind of fight him successfully. So we would walk around in groups of 6, and when we see a university student who asks us to go into a basement, 5 of us will jump him and 1 will run to get the adults. And so yeah, for about 1 day it was very hard to get us to go to school because we were on a mission. We never caught this guy. I wonder if the police ever did. There used to be a small side building. Oh yeah, that used to be our school canteen. Not too much foraging on the school premises. I don't even remember this walnut tree. Might be less than 40 years old then. I mean, walnuts, of course, a great stuff for foraging and by far the most important nut in Bulgaria. Elderberries. I ate elderberries only once. My grandfather gave me some and then I puked. Very typical for traditional Bulgarian playgrounds and sports stadiums and everything. You would play on concrete. Not on grass, not on gravel, but on hard, knee-scraping concrete. And also the beautiful lime or linden trees everywhere. Wonderful. Basically nothing has changed here since my time. Funny. The fence between the school and the kindergarten. Of course, for kindergarteners it was absolutely forbidden to climb over it. But as big adult first graders, we were allowed to climb it to go visit our old nannies. I guess applying the same logic, I'm allowed to climb my elementary school fence now. Oh, nothing can stop me, yeah. And a lot of those Well, in those big cooperative housing blocks, usually the inhabitants would be responsible for the garden. There were no gardeners, and often they would plant everything but fruit trees. This cherry plum is from post-communist times, probably even this pear tree, although some of them grow very slowly. So in those places there were usually not many fruits to forage. Oh, here's some edible plantain, next to it phototoxic Heracleum. We didn't know that the daisies are edible, we didn't know that the plantains are edible. We did know, however, that the dandelion is edible. Oh, I thought this is dock. We also foraged for dock, but no, this is something else. Oh, is this an apple or a German medlar? No, it's just an apple. The old metal communist trash bins, they had to be made from metal because people would throw their hot ashes in there. And then in the 90s and 2000s, German companies took over and replaced them with plastic bins. The plastic bins all burned down because of the hot ashes. And now a lot of Bulgaria has metal trash bins again. I mean, they are incredibly more expensive than plastic trash bins, but you don't have to replace them every time they burn down. Also, of course, unfortunately, because of the ashes, all the other trash caught fire. So it was a time of very dirty air back there, especially in winter. The snow got black within a day. Not very healthy for breathing. My way home went through this forest, and as long as I was in kindergarten, my parents would bring me there. But from the first day of first grade, I was supposed to do it on my own. It didn't matter that they were homeless people living in the forest. Didn't matter that there were packs of wild dogs, quite good-sized wild dogs back then. Those big Danish hounds the size of a small donkey were very fashionable back then. And when they became less fashionable, they noticed that they eat a couple pounds of red meat a day. They were kicked out. We kicked those giant dogs' asses back then. The worst thing was when it was dark in winter, when I came back from school, and freezing cold, minus 20 degrees on some mornings. You didn't know whether some unspoken horrors will get you from the dark or whether you will freeze to death in the forest and nobody will find you. Those were different times. And I was living in the capital. Imagine the people living in the countryside and in the forests, in the mountains. Yeah, I'm a little bit late for the main mushroom foraging season. The main mushroom here used to be the St. George's mushroom, which comes out, well, in Britain it comes in April around St. George's Day. Here in May, that's why it's called May mushroom in Bulgarian and in many other languages. Used to be the main, no, this is just a snail. Used to be the main mushroom here. And then we had some big, polyporous mushrooms growing on the dead trees. Those were our main mushrooms for foraging in this forest, and May was an incredibly important time. In May, we would always try to be the first to harvest those. It's mid-June and it's getting quite dry, so no mushrooms right now, I guess. Oh, here is a feral German medlar. Wonderful. We didn't have them here back then. I mean, somebody spat out a seed from a medlar they got from a garden or from a shop, and the shrub grew here. Medlars are native to Bulgaria, but not to this part of Bulgaria. Yeah, beautiful. Very good foraging opportunity. Right next to it, feral cherry plums. Those were very common. And somewhere around here I saw a feral sour cherry. They cannot find it anymore. I remember this spot. Some homeless person used to make a fire to warm themselves all night. And when I came back from school, I used to reignite the fire and play around with it for some time. Never met a homeless person though, but every morning, well, every afternoon, the coals were still, there were still a couple little tiny coals in the ashes. So even as a small first grader, I was top at fire making in any conditions. Much better than I'm now. I always smelled of fire. Later my father, when my mother and me moved out, he had a giant cactus collection, 5,000 pots in the huge apartment, and he would forage for the humus under this litter as a substrate for his cacti. So we would deplete the forest of a lot of nice humus back then. Unlike the area around my school, this place where I used to live has changed a lot. Back in my time, there were all tiny houses with gardens here. So we always had a lot to forage, a lot of fruits that were falling over the fences. And also there were a couple abandoned ones. Now all those houses have been torn down, and yeah, all those blocks of flats have been planted here. Back in my time, there were just 2 blocks of flats in the whole area, and one of them was mine. Well, it wasn't mine. My parents owned an apartment here. That's the block where I grew up. And none of those blocks here existed, only small houses. Let's see. Of course, we foraged a lot of cherry plums back then. Pears. There used to be dock on this meadow, and we foraged that a lot. Of course, no figs. It was too cold for figs. This apple tree is young. All the fruit trees here are young. We didn't have fruit trees here back then, except for a couple. This pear is probably older than me. It was a meadow with a playground, and the beautiful huge pile of raw asbestos fibers on the children's playground. Oh yeah. I wonder how I'm still alive. We used to play in this thing for years, in this pile. Yeah, so all those fruit trees here are new. They didn't exist in my time. And I think the tide is also changing from fruit trees to other stuff, because they are planting linden, maple and oaks now. But for a couple decades, it seems that fruit trees were important. Oh, where is my old flat? My father will, oh, haha, there is still the old wooden parapet my father installed for my baby toddler brother. He sold the flat a couple years ago. He didn't bother about keys. He was an alpinist, so he would climb this block without any trouble. I could do it too right now, but maybe I did it once or twice. But since this is not ours anymore, I don't want to get shot or sued or have the police called on me. Yeah, so many cherry plums everywhere. Oh, this is a piece from my old playground. So where was the asbestos pile? I think the asbestos pile was somewhere around here. There was a tree with a forked stem here, and the asbestos pile was at this base. Not just Eternit, which is dangerous enough. No, nice insulation asbestos fibers. Maybe a truckload full of them. Yummy. Back then, of course, we had no fence around our block. I wonder if I will even be able to exit on the other side. Unfortunately, back then, I also had no idea that the tagetes flowers are tasty and edible. This actually looks like the abandoned gardens that were straight south of our block. So now there are blocks there, but back in my childhood, the area looked like this. Well, this was just a meadow. Oh, hello, kitty. Let's jump the fence again. Oh yeah, I remember this traffic post here. And I remember this very tall block. Those were the only big houses around here. This was the third one, but it came much later, and all the other ones came much later. There were abandoned gardens here, and so we all tried to steal matches or even lighters from our parents, or if not, we tried to get 5 stotinki, and then we would go around all the kiosks and little shops, and until we found somebody responsible enough to sell a box of matches to the little kindergarteners, and then we would come here and make fires. Yeah, those were different times. But from this training as a kindergarten and first grader, now I can light a fire in basically any conditions. Waist deep snow, heavy rainstorm, no wood, you name it. Oh, back to the government hospital in South Park. Rhinotria japonica. This is like the biggest sorrel you can imagine in spring. You can pick even now you can pick the youngest parts and chew them. They are related to the normal sorrel. And yeah, you can chew them. However, if you chew too many of them, you get too much oxalate. No, not the spiny glass needle part. The glass needles form in your kidneys, also known as kidney stones. So don't forage this stuff too much. Here used to be a little factory building. Officially it was a telephone factory, but that was communist times. It was a pistol factory. They made pistols for the police and officers and so on. I know half of the shit I'm telling here has nothing to do with plants or with fruits, but try to stop me. It's a free world. You can't. Oh, smoke bush. I have a funny story about this. Yeah. Tell me to tell you the story how the naked savage brought the big stinker, aka the smoke bush, on the Orient Express, aka the fanciest train in old Europe. By the way, the tall mountain in the distance is the Vitosha mountain. We used to spend a lot of time there, a lot of great foraging for mushrooms, berries and herbs, but I cannot cover it right now. Also here to the east is the zoo with our little garden next to it. Well, I mean, the garden was there before the zoo, so I guess the zoo was next to our little garden in a very rural area for that time. I also will not cover this today. I can only say that the manure my grandparents were fertilizing their little garden with was the most arsenal of Bulgaria, because they just took the manure from the zoo. So there was anything from elephants to lion to monkey. Yeah, so here is the South Park itself. Like, the government hospital is in the South Park, but nobody would refer to the government hospital as part of the South Park because it was off limits. They've removed the barbed wire since then. But here is the actual South Park. Very adventurous place for a little kindergartner. A couple old fruit orchards from old gardens here, which they were clever enough to leave. Those trees might not look like much, but I mean, they could have been planted in the last couple decades. I don't remember those particular trees, but I cannot remember every single fruit tree. Come on, folks. But I guess a lot of them were here when the park was created. I mean, look at this cherry plum. The park was created, what, in the 70s. This cherry plum is definitely well over 50 years old. Look how beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Oh, everything from the old Soviet time playgrounds has been destroyed or stolen. Yes, there was a playground on this exact spot, but all the stuff the children are playing with now is new. Well, except for maybe those goal posts here. I might remember them. Over there, a couple, well, always one goat and one sheep used to graze. And my little friend and me, we tried to free them all the time by either breaking their chains with rocks or burning through their ropes with fire. We are so lucky we never got caught, man. They would have beaten our asses for trying to steal their valuable livestock. It was officially a park and they were not supposed to be grazing here, but yeah, those were different times. This is a ticket of feral cherry plums, and here in this part, feral sour cherries. A big ticket of feral sour cherries. Oofa. Yeah, hundreds of feral sour cherries. Probably there was an orchard here, and since we have some quite old-fashioned sour cherry varieties around here, a lot of them escaped. They have very few fruits this year for some reason. But not just sour. But also bitter and astringent. The official cultivars are tastier. And the shrubbery would spread a lot more if they didn't cut the grass on this meadow a couple times a year. They've already cut it once this year, I guess. But without the cutting, the shrubbery would spread a lot. Those oaks look like they could harbor a lot of tasty boletus mushrooms here, but we found boletus mushrooms here very, very rarely. And also we almost never found mushrooms in the South Park for some reason. Still don't know why. We used to collect mushrooms in the forest over there, but here in the South Park we almost never found any mushrooms. Maybe it was too young back there, not enough old trees, not enough well-developed mycorrhiza relationships. But it's still kind of strange. Not much fruit diversity to forage. Apples, cherries and cherry plums mostly. Oh look, Laburnum anagyroides, one of the ornamental fabaceae planted here. When we were kids, maybe the most important things our parents and grandparents taught us was the flowers of the white acacia are edible and tasty. The flowers of the pink acacia are edible and tasty, but the flowers of the yellow acacia are poisonous, don't eat them. Of course, none of those was acacia, but they were called acacia. The white acacia is Robinia pseudacacia, the black locust. The pink one is Robinia neomexicana, another type of locust from, you guessed it, New Mexico. And this is Laburnum anagyroides. And yes, well, every part of Robinia is poisonous apart from the flowers. The flowers are edible and tasty and make excellent honey. But Laburnum anagyroides is even more toxic, including the flowers. So if we hadn't listened to our families for this thing, eat the white and pink acacia and never ever eat the yellow acacia flowers, then you wouldn't be watching my videos now. My mother loved eating the super bitter dandelion. I hated it. Ugh. You cannot make a little child eat something like that. Also, back in my time, a lot of those slopes were a lot steeper and a lot more naked. Like here you could see a big sand wall, and on top of it was, or still is, the government hospital. I haven't seen a glimpse of this sand wall now. There is some sort of slope, and in first grade we would escape school all the time, climb on the steep sand cliffs. This used to be a series of big sand pits, and then in the 70s they were made into a park. There, like in summer we would climb the sand cliffs and chase frogs in the numerous ponds here. In winter we would trample around on the ice of the ponds. We were always late after recess. Yeah, it's kind of surprising we all survived. But it was fun. It was fun. a walnut here, a young feral walnut tree. But yeah, those thickets were smaller and less dense. And as I said, there were like steep sand cliffs everywhere. I like it how they still don't do lawns in most parks of Sofia. They just harvest the hay twice a year. Those are still treated as normal meadows. I hope they still use the hay to feed some animals. Yeah, you don't need all this short English style lawn. Meadow that's being cut twice a year is fully sufficient. Agrimonia oipatoria, we use this as a herb. Amorpha fruticosa, and ornamental. You can always recognize by the smell. Yeah, I remember those little sandy hills. They used to be higher and steeper. Good climbing for little kids. Yeah, much different from what I remember. There were a couple such tickets back then, but very few. But I guess, yeah, as the landscape kind of matures from a sand pit to a, I don't know, man, quite neglected but still managed forest, after all the trails are still totally walkable, stuff changes. Little bit sad that we don't see all the sandy, all the steep sandy cliffs. Here is a tiny one. Oh man! Oh, those are willows and cottonwoods. Oh, I'm too heavy for that one. I'm too heavy for willow. It must be near the government hospital. Pieces of the fences. Old, abandoned official trail. There was even a bench here. Yeah, see, there is a tiny sandy cliff, a remnant less than 3 meters tall. There were a lot of very tall ones back then. I mean, for me they looked like 20 meters tall. Probably they were not that tall, but the whole park was full of those things. I remember, you know, this type of medicinal clay that a lot of people like to use. Well, my mother also used it a lot, but she didn't always want to buy it. So once we came foraging for such clay in that park, we also brought back a couple bags of that clay. But then it all turned out to be so sandy that we had to throw it all away. Oh crap! Where did I... Oh gosh, I'm covered with huge mosquitoes. And they came from one specific part of the shrubbery. Before I passed through a specific shrub, I didn't have any. Die, parent lovers, die. Well, they are big but stupid. Easy to dispose of. Somewhere here around those little holes was the only time I saw a newt in Sofia in Bulgaria. I mean, I was used to salamanders, but I was pretty scared when I found the newt. Too dry now for newts. I don't know. What happened to the park's ponds? They have dried up. Look at that. Those are no ponds anymore. A lot of cattail. Funny thing is, in all the areas I was in Bulgaria, there were no reeds. I remember only one cluster of reed in this park, and it was the only reed I saw in Bulgaria until late in the 90s. Bulgaria has reeds, but somehow the areas I was always just had cattail. And around, and this pond is the same, just like back then. Only cattail, no reeds. That's not a problem, because cattail is also called the nature supermarket. Maybe the most important survival plant in the world. I must make a video about it when the fruits come out. This plant will give you everything. food, water, shelter, fire, clothing, material for crafting almost anything. Wonderful stuff, but the mosquitoes are eating me alive. I must run. Oh, they stung me up well, but yeah, a lot of them paid the ultimate price. There used to be a big meadow somewhere here. Once I saw how a huge bunch of dogs were chasing and bothering and biting one of the dogs of the soldiers from the military hospital, and their dog, a German Shepherd, it had one of those, what do you call those nets around the muscles so that they don't bite. And the soldiers asked the people kindly to call their dogs back, and they didn't. And this big gang of dogs, this big pack of dogs was chasing this poor shepherd. And then the soldiers called the dog, removed this thing from its face, and half a minute later, this big pack of dogs were toast. I mean, they were spoiled lap dogs. Some of them 3 times as big as the German Shepherd. Some of them were those Danish hounds. Didn't matter. This was a trained military killing machine. His job was to protect the life of our dictator from people who climb into the military hospital. So half a minute later, this big pack of dogs was toast. I still remember how they installed those elephant playgrounds around 1980. Most of them are destroyed and stolen now. Telling more stories than foraging. Well, here, brambles, different types of brambles. This is most probably the invasive Armenian bramble. It's not bramble season yet, it's not blackberry season yet, but you can actually eat the tender young part of the bramble. Just peel away the skin with the thorns and eat just the soft pit. This used to be a playground too, long time ago. This oak has grown through the circular banks to the circular benches. Those were circular benches, we used to sit on them in kindergarten times. So that means this oak must be around 35 to 40-ish years old. Good, so I can use it for calibration for the age of other trees here. Oh yeah, and this was exactly the meadow where the German Shepherd was being chased by those dogs, and then he messed them all up. Oh man, this meadow is completely gone. Speaking of the doggy, birches. They used to plant a lot of birches in communist times, because birches were are the national tree of Russia, and of course everything Russian was good. Also the ponds were younger and cleaner. When ponds age, they accumulate a lot of nutrients and those get dirtier. I wonder if there are even still fish in here. The fishermen used to fish a lot in those ponds. Beautiful irises in the background. Different bramble species here, but I don't know exactly which ones. More cute doggies, but no military killing machines, I hope. Oh, so nowadays the doggies are confined to the doggy park, or maybe not. Yeah, I must say this park back then was a very modern design, with using an old giant quarry and doing a lot of non-geometric trails and a lot of playgrounds and ponds and so on. Now it's kind of like a forest park with meadows and a bit of infrastructure. Oh well, you could say it has aged quite well. South Park has aged well, hasn't it? Burdock. Nobody knew that this stuff is edible in Bulgaria. Very strange. It's mostly an East Asian thing to eat it, but still. Also this here. Is this some? Wait a moment. This looks like some very strange Heracleum. Very dangerous phototoxic plant. However, it doesn't look like the native Heracleum spondylium. It doesn't look like the exotic Heracleum mantegazzianum. Either there is another species in Bulgaria. I think there might be, because I've seen this a lot of times. I think this is another Heracleum species which I've seen a lot, but I've forgotten the name. Stay away from those things, folks. They'll give you sunburn. Yeah. The only thing we used the burdock, well, we used it for two different things. Going to the toilet when we were in the park, and of course we used the burrs to throw them at anybody and their mother. Of course we were careful when throwing them at the mothers, because corporal punishment was quite a standard back then. Let's see if I'm still... I missed. Shush. Just when I get big and scary enough that everybody and their mother cannot beat me up anymore, I lose my aim. What a pity. It's interesting. We use the South Park mostly for playing, but not for foraging. Yeah, I don't remember a lot of foraging in the South Park. Definitely no regular foraging. We foraged for ononis as a vegetable, as a pot herb, but I cannot find ononis here anymore. As I said, back then everything was very open, very sandy, a lot of views everywhere, a lot of viewpoints, nothing left of that. But that's normal. Such former quarries, no matter if you turn them into a park or not, they tend to age like that. Aliaria, the garlic mustard. Nobody told us back then that this thing which smells of garlic and mustard is actually edible. The leaves of the Persian walnut, of course, the most important nut in Europe, but you can also use the leaves to put them in the cupboards to protect your stuff from moths. Not as good as naphthalene and such stuff. They use naphthalene extensively. You know the smell. You know what really old people smell like? This refreshing chemical smell. That's naphthalene. That's from their cupboards against the moths. But you can use walnut leaves instead. Here again, this black locust has grown through one of those circular benches. Also, I guess they are not. Yeah, this is what everything used to look like in the 90s. Broken and full of trash. I guess some parts of the park are not being cleaned regularly. Just like in my kindergarten times, the fishermen are standing at exactly this spot of exactly this lake and fishing. I bet back then it was just as illegal as it is now, but nobody cares. Just like they didn't back then. Yeah, this is the exact spot. Oh, turtle, water turtle. Look at that. See it? This is, I think, the native European water turtle. And back then we didn't have ducks. They wouldn't have survived for long. And here, this is a type of water chicken with green feet. But the water was a lot cleaner back then. As I said, this is a natural aging process. You can counteract this aging of this type of areas with a lot of landscape management and so on, but you can just slow down the process, never eliminate it. Yeah, remember this hill? It was twice as high back then. Had several meter high sand cliffs on each side, but 40 years and the sand hill, yeah, that's what happens with time. At least it's still here. Yeah, here you can see that we are in an old sand pit. I think there must have been a lot of interesting rare vegetation around here, because sand is not really common in the Sofia area. The normal soil of Sofia is a sticky pitch black clay. Here we have a mixture of this pitch black clay and sand, but basically everywhere in Sofia you have a very sticky, heavy, pitch black clay with rounded pebbles inside, because all the basin of Sofia used to be a giant lake. But here, I don't know what, I don't know why, there is not a ton of sand, but millions of tons of sand. I once even found fossilized bones in one of those cliffs. Small fossilized bones, but still. Unfortunately, they were in a cavity right in the cliff under the government hospital. So then the soldiers came out and told me, what am I doing undermining the fence of the government hospital? They were very understanding of what I'm doing, but still told me that I need to piss off. So I never recovered those bones. What a loss for science. Again, the elephant playground. Still don't understand how they didn't steal all of them in the 90s. Scrap iron was sold by the kilogram, and such a thing is at least a couple 100 kilograms. Oh, the poplar fruits or cottonwood fruits are falling. Look at that, they look like dandelions. So beautiful. Now I'm on the way to the South Park bunker. Yeah, that's the thing, folks. Because the inhabitants of South Park, they were supposed to survive the nuclear exchange of World War III. Or rather, the patients of the government hospital, which was just a couple 100 meters away. I've never been inside this bunker. I didn't even know where the entrance is. However, in kindergarten times we were playing on the meadows above the bunker, and there were all those ventilation shafts, and we knew this is the bunker of the government hospital. Don't throw rocks into the vents. You think we listened? From time to time, some guards would yell from the deep to us to stop throwing rocks down there. But yeah, it seems like the entrance was here, but I guess they put a couple truckloads of soil in front of those entrances to stop people like me from, well, entering. Oh man, I don't want to squeeze into those little openings here. Okay, let's upsail back the steep slope. Come on, man, I'm not crawling through this dirt. Give me a bigger entrance. Nope. It took a lot of naughtiness back then for little kindergarteners to throw rocks in the communist dictator's bunker vents, but I guess we were built differently back then. Another entrance has been blocked. Now we are talking business. Important question. Is it dangerous in there? Well, now it definitely is, because I am here. So, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the South Park bunker. Oops. Dead end, literally. Armored doors. Where are the vents where we used to throw in the rocks, man? Huh? Where are those vents? Also, I bet This stuff is full of asbestos and other poisons. But I used to live in such places for some time. So, yeah, nothing special about this one. Very cold, of course, because underground the temperatures are quite constant. Showers or bathrooms, wooden floors. I wonder, it's quite extensive, folks. I wonder if I'll find somebody here. I used to live in an old British bunker in Malta. I used to sleep there. And every evening when I came, there were new Satanist graffiti in the bunker. Really beautiful, big Satanist graffiti. And then only years later, I learned that the Satanists used to meet in this bunker where I used to live. And I asked, why didn't I ever meet them at night? Aren't Satanists supposed to meet at night? Well, the guy said, no more Satanists in this bunker. The church performed an exorcism and told their moms to keep them at home from now on. That was also the reason they were there during the day and not at night. They were all underage Satanists. But yeah, I used to live in a Satanist bunker, so now... Oh, wait, the other thing is, I've been walking left and right for quite some time now. This is quite extensive, and I kind of forgot to keep track. I didn't think this would be so big. Where is the exit? That's not funny. That's not funny. Of course it is funny. Guess I have to capture a bunch of little Satanists, drink their blood and feast on their flesh, and thus sustain myself. I mean, it must be incredibly extensive. I mean, it must reach at least 500 meters to the government hospital. Okay, this tunnel is flooded. Not going that way. Yeah, because it's the bunker predominantly of the government hospital. Well, it was. Big, yeah. Above, there was quite an extensive meadow with a lot of ventilation shafts for this bunker. Everything has burned, as you can see. Wow. See, the roofs are on fire. Oh, and of course all the copper has been stolen. Those are the plastic wraps of the copper wires. Of course. One thing that's more... Oh, I was here before. I'm walking around in circles now. No, I'm not. Because I didn't see this, so... Oh God, no, I've arrived at the second toilet compound. How have they managed not to steal all those machines, man? Whew. I mean, this is very heavy stuff, but it's very heavy metal, and heavy metal is expensive. Losing track, where am I? I have no idea. Also, funny thing, no fences, no wire, no signs. I guess they thought those truckloads of dirt would deter everybody. More toilets. This place is full of toilets. Do I need to start to conserve my batteries? Filming takes a lot more energy than just flashlighting. Hello, where am I? Come on. Give me a little group of feisty teenagers I can scare and ask for help. Ooh, stairs. Rooms. Furniture. Okay, so now I'm going to a different level. I guess I'm going back to my level very soon. No, I'm not crawling through this hole. Forget it. Back again. I kind of hoped I would be able to enter the bunker, but I didn't. Suspect. Oh, I haven't been here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different. 5 different tunnels going in different directions. Well, here in Bulgaria, or especially in Sofia, you would call this Petekusheta, or the 5 corners. Well known from the movie Gangs of New York. Well, Gangs of Sofia. I didn't walk through such a semicircular tunnel before. Where the heck am I? What are those signs? Another room full of machinery. Oh, and it's warm. Well, I guess those fans were moving the ventilation system. And here it's getting warm. That means most probably I'm getting closer to the surface. This could have been one of those spots where we... Oh, okay, no exit. Yeah, the heat is coming from here. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's where one of the shafts where us little kindergarteners used to throw down everything there is even light. But those shafts were constructed in a quite crafty way so that the American invaders couldn't invade through the shafts. There was enough space to throw rocks, but not to invade. Yeah. I wonder if some of those rocks in there are from me from 40-something years ago. Another armored door. I've lost orientation a long time ago. I have no idea where I am, and I guess I'm supposed to walk the other way. Oh, clever people, they left signs here. An exit. An exit. Crap. This exit is... I'm hearing voices. There is a roof there. Freak. Okay, no exit over there. Nitrile gloves. Shall I be concerned? What are they doing here with nitrile gloves? Probably just keeping their hands clean from all the toxic shit around here. I heard the noise. I think it was just a rat. Bathrooms, I guess. Come on, folks, it's getting boring. Wanna get out. My head is cold. I have no hair. My scalp is freezing. Okay, this way. 9. Fuck. Another closed off gate. Crap. Dude. This is the standard communist technology for bunker gates and windows. Not just for the government, they built thousands of those bunkers. Well, still cannot beat Albania. Albania built 800,000. Fuck, where am I? Na 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 na. It's getting boring. I've been here. No, I haven't been here. I've been in this bunker for, what, 45 minutes now. It's really getting boring, man. Also, it's almost like I'm hearing steps behind me. Don't mess with me, dude. You don't want to mess with me. Don't mess with me. You don't want to mess with me. Please don't. No, really. Don't. You won't like me when I get angry. The only thing worse than angry is angry and cold. Come on, man. I was here before. Yeah, this thing and this one toilet. And there was a sound over there. Oh, come on, little piggies. Where are you? Piggy, 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 piggy. It was fun for the first 15 minutes. Okay, I was here before, but I don't think I was ever here. I was here, but from the other side. Yeah, here are the stairs. But here where I'm standing right now, I have not been before. Come on, at least show me some communist secrets here. Oh, Bulgarian flag, but without the communist emblem. It's getting boring, boring. Oh, it's getting warm. Light. Fuck it! Nope. It's too stable. Oh, if you read Tom Sawyer, remember the Tom Sawyer? He got lost with his girlfriend in a cave, and then everybody thought they died, and they blocked the entrance of the cave. Tom Sawyer found another exit, but Indiana Joe, he died right at the exit. Well, he was on the inside of the exit. Okay, I was here before. Indiana Joe was on the inside of the exit and couldn't get out. Couldn't get out because there was this new, a different floor. No, I'm not going there. There was this new heavy-duty gate to prevent anybody to get in there and get lost. But basically, yeah, the only thing it achieved that Indiana Joe stayed inside and died after trying to drink the limited water dripping from the stalactites, and after eating all the candles and bats he could find. Yeah, don't call me Indiana Joe. Was I here before? Hey, valuable metal. How come they didn't steal that? Fuck. Another closed-off exit. Slowly starting to get slightly concerned. I've been in here for, I don't know, man. Feels like over an hour now. The other funny thing I don't understand is why are there no other urban explorers here? I mean, I found this place on Google, and then I remembered that, yes, I used to throw stuff into the shafts of the bunker. Ah, come on. It's enough. Let me out. It's annoying. I came here to forage for edibles. Why nobody stole that barrel? It's metal. Oh, wait, I'm at the 5 corners again. I'm recognizing so many spots where I was before. It would be nice to recognize the exit too. Not making this up, I'm kinda slightly on the lost side. Nah, I haven't been here. Didn't see any chopping blocks before. Oh yes, I've been here. That's again those 2 little rooms, one of them with a squatting toilet. Funny, I'm walking around in circles. This is encouraging in a certain way. It means that probably this thing has quite a limited area. It's not going on for miles and miles in every direction, I hope. But on the other hand, it also means that I'm walking around in circles, but not finding the actual exit. So many options everywhere. And the thing is, I am loud. Somebody might be standing around the corner, smack me on the head. I was here before. Yeah, I was here before. There is a closed-off exit here. Yeah. Starting to feel like home. Have you ever been so drunk you cannot find the door of your own house? Well, that's what I feel like right now. I've been here. I've been here. I've been here. I've been here. Finally, I gave up and put on a hat to protect my scalp. The rest is okay, but the top of my head, which I shaved just 3 days ago, just too cold. Wir wandern von einem Raum zum anderen. Nah, singing in German doesn't help much. Yeah, anarchy. It's a very anarchistic labyrinth here. Okay, so I'm at the 5 corners again. Okay, one of them is a dead end. What about the other 4? Come on. I was here. Most of those tunnels, I've walked them several times, but not the actual exit tunnel. But that's new. I haven't been in here before. Also, I haven't seen the flooded tunnel for quite some time. There is light over there. stairs. Oh. Huh. Funny. This looks like an open exit. Oh yeah. Found the right exit. Recommendation from all the fruit: if you close off most of the entrances to an underground labyrinth, please close all of them. So this is the complex where I saw this from inside the bunker. Yeah, I saw this corrugated metal roof and I heard voices there. Another abandoned military installation. Nah, enough urban exploration for now. Let's do a bit more foraging. Ghetto-looking skater park. Did I mention the ghetto-looking skater park? Did I film this? More abandoned military installations. Never been in this part of South Park. I guess this is the dark and creepy side of South Park. And there are some not yet abandoned military installations. It means there might also be still intact parts of the bunker. Oh, Rubus caesius, the blue bramble or blue blackberry. Tastes slightly different from all the black ones, but not in season yet. Is this wind? A wind in the willows? Or is this a waterfall? St. John's wort, good against winter depression, but never drink the tea in summer. It will give you sunburn. Oh, I thought here I'm in the lowlands, but nope. Far underneath there is a big parking lot, strange. Oh, and the pretty river. Yeah. This is at the other end of South Park. We didn't come here a lot for playing. Inside the city of Sofia, all those little rivers are either underground or in ugly deep troughs, but here I wouldn't say it's completely natural, but it's still quite nice and more or less free. However, how to cross it? Oh, there seems to be a tree over the river over there. Screw trees, it's a warm summer day. What's your problem? It looks clean enough. Laurel cherry, native to Bulgaria, but I've rarely seen it in the wild. Popular ornamental. Nobody eats it here, but in the Caucasus they have some improved varieties which they use for food. You can also use the ornamental ones, but Google doesn't like me to say this because Google thinks this is poison. And ornamental bearberries. Fruits could be nice and sour or could be bitter, and the bryony on top of it. Funny, I've never seen bryony in Bulgaria. I saw it for the first time in Germany. Later I saw it a lot in Bulgaria, but never as a child. I don't know that it spread around here later or what, but from my childhood I have no recollections of bryony here. A little peach tree. There used to be those little feral peach trees here. And of course we ate all the peaches while they were still completely underripe. Oh, this bar is growing a couple things. Grapes, plums, apples, lilies and roses. Guess this was a plum, and behind it a pear. None of them is in season. Nothing really forageable around the South Park fountain. The wonderful smell of the linden trees. I guess this is a platyphilus. Well, this is a cordata maybe, different linden species. Oh, doggy traces in the cement of this bridge. Yeah, but that's the thing about Bulgaria. The forageable fruits, there are not too many of them. No great diversity, unfortunately. But also a good thing, despite them having quite limited resources in communist times, they used to make nice big parks everywhere around the blocks. Nowadays they are building them much closer together, so you might be living in a not that beautiful communist block, but at least you have a lot of greenery around you. And here a nice big mulberry tree. Oh, look at that, the flowering quince. It's flowering very nice and red. Beautiful yellow fruits. And why around here? Just like in Germany, it's just an ornamental. In other places like the Balticum, Russia or northern China, it's a full-fledged fruit shrub. In places where the normal quince doesn't grow. Oh, and here again the edible daylilies. Getting kind of tired, and I don't think too many new things will come in the next couple 100 meters. So, finishing this video. If I found something super interesting, I'll insert it. Tell me what you think about foraging in South Park and its extensive bunker systems. Also tell me what you think about the place where I had some of my first foraging and fruit hunting experiences. Apart from that, stay tuned for a lot more fruit videos from the beautiful but not incredibly fruit-rich city of Sofia, I must say, unfortunately. And of course, don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe.